I think we're live, aren't we?
Live, good sir.
All right, we are live. What's up, foodies, booze, meat people? This is the BDSM podcast, Booze, Desserts, Smoke, and Meats. I am here today with my lovely co-host, but I am Professor Porkloin, and my co-host is...
The Meat Viking. Finally found
All
my
right.
my
So
proper
we got
hat after it's been missing
episode.
the last few episodes.
Finally,
Yeah,
we got a nice episode today, don't you think?
I agree. I think this is going to bring two of our topics together for sure, and that would be some booze and some desserts.
Yeah, we've been talking about booze recently, so I think we needed to shift gears a little bit and kind of talk a little bit more about desserts. So I guess one of the first things we got to start out for is what's in the cup, man.
I went with a typical dessert drink in typical Meat Viking fashion, the lovely White Russian. Well,
The White Russian. I think you need to stir that up, man.
yeah, I do.
A White Russian's not supposed to have black on the bottom.
She'll be okay.
Yeah, it looked like he just took a facial from Mr. Snowman too from that.
Yeah, there we go. I think we're good. Worth it.
Well, down here it's actually pretty sunny and it's a clear day. It's not desserty, but it is very crisp. So I decided to do the old gin and tonic, and this is got to be one of my favorite gins, man. It's Old Yonpon. It's from Waterloo, or no, it's from Dripping Springs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a nice piney flavor to it. You throw in the tonic there, a little bit of some lime, and it is one of those drinks to have. So I feel like I might be drinking some more of this with the Kentucky Derby coming up, because I'm not a big fan of mint juleps, but the old G&T, I'll totally take it all day. So
Oh yeah, ain't nothing wrong with a good G&T.
no, but for the people out there, if you're looking, I don't know if you can grab this wherever you're at, but I totally recommend Old Yonpon Gin from Dripping Springs. You will not be disappointed with it.
Is that better?
So yeah, better, man. So I think we determined a safe word today too. I think we said it's candy, just because it's kind of dessert-ish, but nothing we're going to be talking about, so we don't have to worry about stopping the podcast with it.
Yep.
But moving on, what's the cigar you're smoking, man?
So this is one word, quorum, but kind of think of like Kuorum. So like Q-rum. You see what I'm saying?
Q-rum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
It's probably quorum.
yeah, I'm thinking it's quorum. Handmade Nicaraguan cigars. Available in three types. You got your classic, your shade, which is like a kind of a dark Murado, and then like your typical Maduro cigar. These are some Martin sun-grown tobaccos, and then the binder and the filler are both Nicaraguan. And it has a 92 rating from Smoke Magazine. Oh, sorry, I have had some info wrong here. On the Maduro, which I have, the wrapper's the same and the filler's the same, but the binder is a Connecticut broadleaf binder. So that's what keeps everything filled in with that tobacco here. And she's got
how's the taste?
Real smooth. It's like nice, medium bodied, pretty accessible, and honestly, it's not bad for a full body tobacco that I'm not usually a huge fan of. I don't have any real tasting notes
Looks
on
like
this.
it's one of those ones that will.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, it's more of. It's got like that earthy,
yeah.
like peppery. You know, if you ever have like a real full body cigar, it's kind of like it's got some spice to it and some pepper to it, but it's also got like a real earthy taste. That's what I'm getting, with a little bit of sweetness from the wrapper. But yeah, like when people think of smoking cigars, I would say that this is what they would think of smoking a cigar is like. It's not what I would introduce a new smoker to, but it also isn't bad.
All right.
Yeah,
Puff some smoke rings there.
I try.
Well, let's get into it, man. So I think you're going to lead us off with a dessert that you did.
Yes.
So go ahead and tell us, man, what was the dessert that you did?
So I actually have the last slice of this right here. This was a tequila key lime pie, and I topped it with some blueberries. And then the crust that we did is a pecan crust. Real simple, super tasty. I'm not sure if it was human error on this or if this is how this is supposed to come out, but there are some parts of this that you don't taste the tequila at all, and then there's some parts where you're like, yeah, there's tequila in this. So, but it's a very simple recipe. We did an out of the pan pie crust that you can find in the baking aisle. And let me just scroll down here. For this tequila lime pie, for the filling, you need a 14-ounce can of sweet condensed milk, half cup of lime juice, quarter cup of tequila, 4 large egg yolks, 2 large eggs whites, and a tablespoon of sugar. You know, you're going to basically mix all that up together. And then for the topping, you're going to need 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of sugar, teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then if you want, take some lime slices or some of that lime zest, use it for garnish, and throw additional crumbs on top of there. What we did is we just threw blueberries on there. Super simple. You know, we did ours in a 9-inch pie pan. Preheat your oven to 350, cook it for a bit. It doesn't need to bake very long. The hardest part is it's mainly got to chill for, I would recommend chilling it 8 hours or overnight.
Cool.
The recipe called for chilling for 4 hours, but when we pulled it out and we had that first slice, it was almost like a pudding texture to it still. Like it didn't want to cut right. So I would recommend chilling it overnight.
So I did a little digging about key lime pie just because every time we have an episode, I usually talk a little bit about some history stuff. And no one really knows for sure where the first key lime pie was made because it hasn't been documented, but there's been a couple theories or there's been a couple, stories of what people say. The first one is in the 1800s. There was a guy named William Curry. I mean, he was a ship salvager. He lived in Florida. He was one of the first self-made millionaires back then. And he had a cook that was simply known as Aunt Sally. And they believe that Aunt Sally was the first one who kind of created this pie, but not really. She more or less wound up improving whatever the recipe was. So it's not like she didn't create it, but she wound up making it on the market type deal.
Mm-hmm.
So William Curry actually had a pretty big mansion in the 1800s, and it's still being used right now by the family. So I'm not 100% sure if this one's true or not, but it's been repeated mostly in Florida. So it really is a theory that Aunt Sally already knew how to make the pie, but the only thing she did was use sweetened condensed milk, egg yolks, but instead lemons. She had locally available limes. Mm-hmm. So it should have been a lemon pie, but instead didn't have any lemons and wound up doing the lime. So there's another theory that actually right around that same time was that there was a guy, again, a fisherman, and this was around Key West-ish. So found out that there was a bunch of booming new business here in South Florida and was trying to get more more into the money, get more into the market. So he basically had all the stuff in there. You know, he had the sugar, the eggs, canned milk. Anyway, so he wound up having, you know, all the stuff for it, and instead made this pie, and it became a staple of all of his fishing trips when he was going out with his crew. So that's the next part of that, and the whole entire theory with this one is that they actually shared it with Aunt Sally.
Hmm.
So there's kind of connection on that one. Again, Aunt Sally supposedly knew about it, but it wasn't until the 30s, 1930s, is when actually one of the recipes was written down and was found. So until then, everyone just knew how to make a pie. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to show you how to do it, document it, and then give it to, you know, your niece, your grandkids, whatever. It was just, hey, we're just going to throw in the eggs, throw in the milk and all that stuff. So because of the lack of milk that they had back at that time, a lot of times they wound up using the lime because it was a key ingredient with the sweet condensed milk. So that's what it wind up makes that nice little smooth and delicious part of that pie. So Florida is basically where the start of this whole entire thing came out. And really, it wasn't until the 1960s when a lot of times legislation were calling for people, anyone advertising key lime pie that is not made with key limes to be fined. So that's kind of funny. The bill didn't pass though. So Florida is essentially where key lime is in theory where it started.
At
So
least
then
one
it just
thing
kind of
came out of
spread from
Florida.
there. I know, right? Instead of Googling Florida man and then the date, find some wild shit. So I thought that was a little bit of interesting knowledge of seeing that Florida was basically the, you know, the first state to say, here's the key lime pie. You would think so close to Georgia that they would have peaches, but I mean, Florida oranges. So I can see why there's a little bit of some similarities there, but you would think that there would probably be more orange based stuff instead of limes, but still pretty good.
Wonder if it's too is like you want. Well, I guess that would apply to oranges as well. If it's done by like fishermen and sailors and stuff, could have been passed down because the vitamin C content in the limes. You don't want to get scurvy if you're out on the sea for too long.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if that's part of it, you know, because all the sailors back then had their citrus, so they didn't get scurvy.
Mm-hmm.
So here we're gonna make some key lime pie, kind of sweet, but you also get that vitamins, so you don't screw off when you're in sea.
Right. But
So
also, one of the most important things we need to take from this is that, like I've told you all before, what Aunt Sally do? She listened to her damn ancestors. Okay, ain't nobody told Aunt Sally how to make this pie. The spirits did.
yeah, it's funny how back then though, there was no like writing it down. Again, you know, people just said, hey, I know how to make this pie because grandma told me how to do it, or I watched her, and it was like, okay, I know how to make this pie.
Yeah.
So imagine about all the stuff that we could have had if people actually documented this stuff way back when.
Well, back in like the 1800s, you know, like having a trophy wife meant she knew how to make a good meal, you know? So, like, I can see why it wasn't wrote down, you know?
Hey, there's still some cultures out there that you know, the bigger you are, the wealthier you are because you can afford food. So, and the more sexy you are if you're big.
I call it bullshit. I need to be in that culture. America, adjust the fuck up.
Getting a
Come on
little
now.
fat. So you mentioned earlier about how sometimes you can taste the tequila, but other times you can't. So do
Mm-hmm.
you think that was because it wasn't mixed all the way up, or that it didn't mix together, or what?
So, It could just be it's the first time making something. It might have been we didn't leave it in the oven long enough, or we left it in the oven a little too long to not get everything cooked all the way through. But even with it being out of
Okay.
the oven and then freezing overnight, like the texture's here, everything's here. I've had many pieces of this pie. It's edible. It's very good. But I'm wondering if maybe another minute or two in the oven would have burnt off the rest of the alcohol taste. Know what I'm saying?
I wonder if it's because it's close to like a souffle. If you would have just shut the oven off and then opened the door and just let it slowly cool down instead of pulling it out. I found that the hard way the first time I ever did a souffle type cake, and it just went, it flattened out.
Yeah.
It was still fluffy, but instead of it being like fluffy, it went to fluffy.
Yeah.
So
it went from fluffy to husky.
So you're going to be making another dessert this week, aren't you?
I am indeed.
So what are you going to be making?
So this,
well, I think it can be savory or sweet depending on which way you go. So I think you're going to go sweet on this one.
I am, because I like sweet. I have a sweet tooth. I'm not going to lie to y'all. And those of you who have seen the wonderful piece of cinema that is Talladega Nights will know there's a scene in there where they talk about this little deliciousness, and it's crepes. And these are a take on crepes that takes banana, rum, and a hazelnut spread, rolls that up in a little crepey deliciousness. And I'll be goddamned if I'm going to let this one pass me by, because I like bananas, I like rums, and I'll say it here because I don't have no Frenchman trying to break my arm. But damn it, I do like me some crepes.
You must like Nutella too if you could have some hazelnut spread.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and like, dude, like, this is like how to trap a white girl 101. Just Nutella, rum, crepes, you'd be good. Throw in a mimosa or two, like you will have a wife.
I think because I looked at the recipe that you're going to do, and I think you're actually going to burn off most of that rum anyway. So hopefully you're going to have some pretty good leftover flavor onto those bananas that you cook them in. But don't make your crepe too fat though, because then you're basically going to have a pancake.
Right. And you know what? I'll be okay with they turn out as pancakes. I'll be like, oh no, I followed the recipe and my crepes turned out more American. They're pancakes. Oh geez, whatever do I do? Next thing you know,
say, do you have that little wooden spoon or the wooden dowel that you spin it around to make it all thin?
Bro, no, dude. Like, I have the most basic kitchen setup you'll ever see. Like, I have one ladle, one spatula, and a pair of tongs to flip steaks over, and that is about it. Yeah.
Well, then when you make your mix, then either add a little bit of some more water to thin it out, or just when you put it in the pan, just put a little bit in there and slowly turn that all the way around with your pan so it covers it. So even if it is a little bit thicker, it'll be kind of like a thinner pancake instead of a thin crepe. But either way, I think you're gonna have a good breakfast style stuff anyway.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I already expect this recipe to turn out completely terrible, because as I looked through it like you did, a lot of the degrees for temperature setting are in Celsius. And over here in the land where bald eagles fly, we don't fucking measure by Celsius, okay?
Yeah, you're gonna have to convert that to Fahrenheit, man.
What is it, like times it by 9.5, carry the 1, add a 2, and then you're good to go? Some shit like that.
Just put it in your calculator. It's got a conversion thing on it.
Yeah, it's true. You know,
yeah, open up your phone, pull out the calculator, and turn it from Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
But again, history-wise, I wanted to find out what was going on with some crepes. And I guess back in France, this is some kind of French folklore, but apparently crepes wound up turning out to be a happy little accident, kind of like Bob Ross.
Oh shit.
um, so I guess back in the 13th century, there was this housewife that was having some porridge, was cooking up some porridge, and wound up spilling just a little bit of that porridge from the kettle onto a flat cooking stone that was right there. And it wound up coming up so thin that there you go. There's your crepe. It cooked up on that cooking stone, and then boom, look at that happy little accident.
Yeah, her
Instead of having some porridge, you get some crepes. But I guess there was some other people too that said that crepes were a little bit before that. They're talking about somewhere around 400, and that's I guess when crepes were offered to Catholic pilgrims visiting Rome, and they wound up having crepes as a traditional meal, symbolizing either a coin or the sun. So whether it's from that old French lady, the housewife, or whether it's from the Pope, either way, France basically started doing some crepes.
Well, shit. Crepes are fucking delicious. Little tiny thing.
Now you're gonna go sweet with it, but I've had savory stuff before. There's a place close by me that does crepes, and I've had some of the sweet ones. But I had an Italian one where it had like pesto and chicken, and they have a prime rib one too, where it can throw in a little bit of some steak and onions and mushrooms, and then wrap that up. They're delicious either way, but I prefer actually the sweetness ones. I think they're way better when you add like the hazelnut and you add chocolate and whipped cream and stuff instead of your chicken and turkey or whatever.
And this is a little like question for you. At what point does a meat-based crepe just become a meat pie?
Well, I think a pie is different. I think a meat pie is different. Because the meat pie has the crust on top. The crepe, it gets rolled up in it. So it's not really coming. It's not really like a slice, you know. It's not coming in a circular dish where you can cut off yourself a piece. No, it's coming all folded up, kind of like a burrito. I would say, when is it more like a burrito than it is a pie?
That's fair. That's fair.
But
I guess
a burrito is more of the flour tortilla.
Yeah. And let's be real, corn tortilla is the way to go if you're going to do like tacos or burritos.
Wow. I would like flour for my burritos, but tacos, I'll say yes.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So
yeah, we'll have to have an episode on some burritos then, or some taco stuff. I think that could fit right into everything.
You know
but I think crepes. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was having some weird signals on my screen, so I wasn't sure if I was gonna lose you or not. So, but oh my God, how do relations work? My wife's brother, his wife, I think she would be the one who would know who I'd like to talk to about like burritos and Mexican foods and stuff like that. So,
all right, well, bring her on.
I don't know if
have our first official guest.
Yeah, I don't know if she'd be willing to do something like this. We get a little wild out here.
Damn, how conservative is she, man? If this is considered wild.
I don't know. People get weird when the camera turns on, man. You know?
Yeah, all right. Well, she could sit there just all blank-eyed.
No. Well, and it's also like for those of you who don't know this, outside of this podcast, I generally don't fucking talk. Like, I'm more of a listening type. And, like, they say, like, the average person will talk 10,000 words a day. Dude, like, my 10,000 words hits on Sunday and then is rolled over till next podcast episode. We have a special guest.
I thought I saw him back there in the window.
I know. Get down. Sorry, Cheese and Potato decided they wanted to come out and hang out with me. So Cheese was knocking on the door, and I guess Potato was hanging out in the window.
So I'm gonna probably make one this weekend too, but it's gonna be more of a bread than necessarily a dessert. So I guess you can call it a dessert, but it's gonna be a cinnamon roll bread.
Ooh.
So, or a cinnamon swirl bread, if you want to call it that. So not think of cinnamon buns, but close to it.
Are we
instead
thinking
of
like
cutting them individually, you basically.
Sorry. Are we thinking more of like a pumpkin roll? Like that style of a cinnamon roll? No.
No, it's gonna be put into a bread tin or bread pan and then baked. So think of like the stuff you get at the store or the shit that you see at the store that's right next to your English muffins.
Oh.
You know how it looks like bread, but it's got the swirl in it. That's what I'm gonna do. Something similar to that. So I guess it can be dessertish if you put in, your butter, or if you put it with jelly or peanut butter or something like that. I think that would probably be pretty close, but I guess on the other side it's bread, so it's not necessarily dessert. We'll just go with it.
I don't know, dude. Like, there have been times where I've been in like pre-hangover mode and I've made me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of some cinnamon and raisin bread. And it's been very breakfasty, very desserty. Hell, if you're on a budget, it's all meals. Like,
there was one time in college where I didn't make it, I had it. It was a cheeseburger, but it was on a blueberry bagel. It was the best damn cheeseburger I had.
Is this one of them home creations, or is this something made for you?
This was something made for me as a home creation because the dude didn't have any buns. He didn't have any buns left. He's like, hey, man, all I had left were blueberry bagels. So here. And I was like, all right, whatever.
This wasn't me, was it?
I think it worked, though. No.
Okay. Because that's some shit I would do.
Before I knew you.
Okay.
So. Well, there are plenty of other desserts that are out there. I guess you can let us know in the comments, or let us know somehow what kind of desserts that you enjoy when it comes to pies or when it comes to adding alcohol into it. I mentioned previously before about bananas Fosters, things like that. So go ahead, let us know. We can talk about it. But I think that kind of wraps up dessert for today with the booze side.
Candy. You went all Mr. Roboto there.
Yeah, I was gonna say you froze.
Yeah.
So yeah, you froze for me.
Give it a quick second. Let's see if it comes back. But I also didn't want to sign off without mentioning the fact that there is alcohol infused ice cream.
Yes, I have had that.
Yeah.
There's a place in Austin that does that.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about that before.
Shout out to. Yeah. All right. Well, go ahead, man. So, bring us into the alcohol infused ice cream.
So, like, I think combining desserts and combining alcoholic beverages, there's one that we cannot pass up. And it's one that not everybody's going to agree with, but it is ice cream and alcohol, whether it be like an amaretto, whether it be a rum, something about that milky, creamy goodness of ice cream And that warm little going down feeling of adding some rum to that or some amaretto for extra flavor. I don't know. Something about that just hits a home run. What do you think about that?
I would have to agree. And for people that think that it's going to be kind of weird, no, it definitely isn't. There's two places that I have actually enjoyed alcohol infused ice cream. The first one is actually in Pennsylvania, and it's at Penn State. Um, it's the Black Crow ice cream. It's so Penn State Berkey Creamery. If you ever get a chance to go there, I totally recommend it. You don't even need to have the alcohol on that one. Just get their creamery. It's super good. But they do add, they were one of the pioneers when it came to adding alcohol to ice cream. And they've got like a, what was it? It was an amaretto something that was just to die for. And the second place I actually went to, and here's a shout out if you ever get a chance to go to it, it's in Austin, Texas. It's at Prohibition Creamery. And I had their Bananas Foster's milkshake, and that was probably one of the best milkshakes I've had. And they also do alcohol infused ice creams, and they have a whole bunch of stuff. And I wish I can say let's get sponsored by them, because I would totally fanboy out for that, because they have some really good stuff down there. Like they have a Guinness one. They have that Bananas Foster's that I had. They have some whiskey stuff that's infused. So if you're ever in Austin, Texas, I totally recommend you going and checking out Prohibition Creamery.
See, and like, I think I found this at either a Baskin Robbins and or, because this is going back like 5 or 6 years, so bear with me, people. Maybe a Cold Stone or an actual like frozen yogurt place. It was one of those places where you would go in, basically you had the option to pick like 2 or 3 things, fill a bowl up, and then they would weigh it, and then that would give you the cost, right? And whenever I would go there, I would mix the rum, the amaretto, and then I put that chocolate sauce on top of there and some sprinkles, and that was some yummy shit.
Yeah, I would totally recommend anybody going to some type of creamery or place that does have alcohol infused ice cream. And I'm talking about like legit stuff too, where they infuse it in there, or they pour it right into the milkshake type deal. Mm-hmm. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're on that page with me too, because if you haven't been able to tell so far, I don't mind having a little bit of like whipping cream or stuff in my drinks, because I enjoy White Russians. Requires whipping cream. It's already kind of sort of ice cream adjacent, but it's a whole new world when you actually go and you make like a rum ice cream, or you have some like rum flavored ice cream. It's worth trying out.
Yeah, I totally recommend that. So, well, you got anything else for rum or for booze infused desserts?
Not really, because I'm about to join myself on this journey when I make this these crepes coming up next. And that'll be the kind of the setting point for how far I want to take this. Like the tequila lime pie was step 1. These crepes are going to be step 2. So we want to see if these crepes are going to take me to that next level, or maybe I do like a tiramisu whiskey style cake or something. Who knows?
Well, the world is your oyster, man. You can make whatever the hell you want.
Mm-hmm. That's got to be such a shitty saying for people who are like allergic to shellfish.
I don't know. The world is your toilet. I mean, everybody's got to take a dump, right? You can poop wherever you want.
Yeah, it's very true. God, I'm fucking retarded. Well, Well, I think we're gonna call
I
it.
guess.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead. Well, take us out, man.
I think we're gonna call it for this episode. I've been the Meat Viking along with my wonderful co-host.
This is Professor Porkloin.
We've been the
We're
Booze
signing
Dessert
off.
Smoke and Meat podcast. We're signing off. Later.